Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Toilets and Titles. My name is Justin Stevens, and we're back at you with another breakdown, special bonus breakdown, bonus episode. This time, I had to put away all my Colts apparel, and George down there had to put away the Miami Dolphins stuff, and we had to make a pact to do our best not to be mean to this guy. Because he's actually a phenomenal person. He's really super knowledgeable of the Patriots, and it is Mike Debate from the Locked On Patriots podcast. So George, I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to jump right into the intro here. And Mike, man, if you would first tell everybody about your YouTube channel, because this is the first I'm hearing of it. Because I listen to like almost all of the Locked On podcast. I'm a fantasy football guy, but you'd be surprised at how much fantasy knowledge you gain from actual football podcasts. And I think a lot of the fantasy world forgets that sometimes. So if you want to listen to real football talk, make sure you go and listen to Mike and the Locked On Patriots. But this is the first I'm hearing about the YouTube channel. George mentioned it before the show. So tell them about the YouTube channel and where else can we find your work?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Locked On, all of our Locked On channels now are available on YouTube. So make sure to download, subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. We definitely come at you each and every day. A lot of great guests, always honored and humbled by the company I keep on Locked On, not only with my colleagues, but also the guests that come on. And also one of the joys is being able to do podcasts like this and sit in the guest chair for a little while and be able to, put the host microphone down a little bit and be able to, lend my wisdom and counsel wherever I possibly can. But yeah, you can definitely find us Locked On Patriots, and we are free and available on all audio platforms as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so nothing new. No, we're not reinventing the wheel. You get to talk about your Patriots again. So that's what tonight's show is mostly about. George, you and I ran a little late on the last episode, so we send out a formal apology, Mike. But George, how's it going this evening, my man?
Man, it's going fantastic. Honored to have a fellow New Englander on the show. I do root for the Dolphins when I'm not doing these shows, but born and raised in Lowell, Massachusetts, moved to Florida when I was about 14. So love it when I get my fellow New Englanders on the show. It's like a kinship bond that I have with them. So honored to have Mike here and excited to do this show.
Outstanding. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it. The first draft pick for the Patriots, also most likely going to be the starter, I would imagine, pretty early on, if not the beginning of the season. And I've followed Jacoby Brissett's career. Don't get me wrong. Like, he was with New England before. He eventually found his way to Indianapolis, and I was a fan. The guy wasn't flashy, but he seemed to always find ways to just win football games. Now, I was kind of excited about hoping that maybe the Patriots would trade back and let him just kind of run the team for a year, and maybe they get their quarterback next time. But I mean, Drake Maye, he can't So tell us a little bit about that quarterback room with Drake Maye and how excited the Patriot fans are.
Yeah, I think Patriot fans are really excited about Drake, and with a lot of reason. Drake is probably one of the more exciting athletes to come this way in quite some time, and especially at the quarterback position. You're talking about a guy that not only has a tremendous arm, phenomenal arm strength, and can make the throws to every area of the field, but at the same time, you're also looking at someone with the athleticism to extend plays with his legs. And when he needs to do that, he's definitely dynamic with the ball in his hands. This is a guy that can make those throws into tight windows and develop solid relationships with his receivers. So Patriots fans are excited to watch Drake. Drake is the most excited guy in the room right now. Showed up with all smiles at Gillette Stadium yesterday for rookie minicamp, which is happening on Friday and on Saturday. And really, I think it's a real new beginning for New England under Drake Maye and Elliott Wolf as the GM. We think he will be. At least that search continues to be ongoing. But judging by what his track record looked like in the draft and in free agency, hard for me to imagine anybody else getting that job. But it's still open, and there are still negotiations being made. But ultimately, when it comes to Drake, the Patriots, I believe, have found their guy.
So one thing you mentioned was Drake Maye's arm strength, and I didn't get to see. So I went to the Senior Bowl this year. It's the second year in a row that I've gotten the honor of going, and I did get to see your 6th-round draft pick, Joe Milton, at the Senior Bowl. And you want to talk about a quarterback with some arm strength. That kid has a cannon for an arm.
He does.
He's not exactly the most accurate with that cannon, but man, he can launch it. And I mean, just a little flick of the wrist, and that thing just shoots out of his hand. It's absolutely amazing. I assume Drake Maye and Milton are probably going to be. Well, obviously Milton's most likely going to be a starter. I don't think Jacoby Brissett. It's a nice story him coming back to New England. I don't think he's going to be long term for the team. I think it's going to be Milton as your backup and Maye as your starter. But they've got a new offensive coordinator with Alex Van Pelt. Can you talk a little bit about how those two quarterbacks, Milton and Maye, how they'll fit in his offensive scheme?
Absolutely. And really, I think Maye and Milton both fit very well into what Alex Van Pelt loves to do. You look at the track record that Alex brings with him from Cleveland and Green Bay and other places where he's been the coordinator and worked with quarterbacks. Alex loves to work in an offense that is predicated on a strong running game, use that running game to facilitate play action, take deep shots down the field, and be able to have your quarterback be able to essentially make any play on the field that he needs to make. Drake Maye obviously has that within him. He's got the arm. He's got the legs to do it. Joe Milton does as well. Now, Milton does need a little bit more refining in his skills. There's no question about it. He's a little bit more of a long-term project. But when you talk about arm strength, he probably is the only guy I think that could not only challenge, but maybe even exceed Drake Maye in terms of arm strength in this draft class. Ideal height, 6'5", 235, and enough talent as a mobile quarterback that he could be effective in short order if the Patriots need him to go. Now, I do expect that it will be either Brissett or Maye to start the season under center, or at the quarterback position, not always under center when they say that, but it'll be one of those guys that's getting the start on week one, and eventually this will become Drake Maye's team. But I think you hit the nail right on the head, George. Joe Milton is someone that had too much talent for Elliott Wolf and that Patriots brain trust to bypass. Clearly saw something in him. I think he could be a solid complement, and that could make for some very interesting matchups with the Patriots this year and down the line if you have that type of talent on the bench.
Yep, absolutely.
Very good. Love it. So this next question is not a fantasy football question, but it's another one of those things where if we listen to real talk, it helps us with our teams, and that's the running back position. Ramondre Stevenson is a guy that I was able to draft really late in drafts for the last couple of years. Antonio Gibson is a guy that he's one of those guys that I just can't quit. Like, even if he does poorly, I still have him on my roster. And then he blows up and has a great game when he's on my bench. But I still love the guy. Now he finds his way onto the Patriots roster. We've got what I think is an amazing a two-headed punch or double-fisted punch here. But at the same time, Ramondre has played really well when given the opportunity. What do you envision with this backfield? Like, how do you think they're going to utilize these running backs?
Well, Ramondre, I still think is your top dog. I think he is going to be your top running back. And with a lot of pedigree and the resume to support it, he fits very well, I believe, into an Alex Van Pelt offense as well. You want to utilize your running back, and you want to make sure that he's facilitating the passing game. And look, Ramondre can do it in both ways. He can blend physical, powerful running with a little bit more of a finesse style as well. He's got great vision, great athleticism. The one thing that I love about watching Ramondre is when he's on his game, he can really make tacklers miss in short yardage situations. That allows the field to get really big for the New England Patriots. And when you have a quarterback that's capable of making and taking the shots deep down the field and connecting with his receivers, it's going to make his job that much easier. So Ramondre will continue to be the top runner in this running back core. Antonio Gibson, I think, is an excellent complement. He's not only someone that can give you between the tackles yardage, even on early downs, but on third down, that's where this guy's really going to shine. And catching the ball out of the backfield is something that I believe he can do. You add in Kevin Harris into the mix, who's your third running back, I believe, on this chart, but someone who's very good at being able to run downhill. He's excellent in the red zone. He can get the ball across. Patriots running game is going to be utilized very effectively this year, and they're going to incorporate a lot more outside zone than you've seen the Patriots do in years past. They've been hesitant. They've been reticent to do it. I don't think they've necessarily had the personnel or maybe the coordinators to bring it all to fruition. They're going to have all that this year. So Patriots, I believe, their running game is going to hit strides maybe even before that highly touted passing game that everybody's waiting to see come alive.
And then even Jermichael Hasty has had moments where he's bursted out as well. And
Absolutely.
but George, hate to interrupt you, George, real quick. I want to pay the bills, and then when we get back, you ask your next question.
Absolutely.
For those that aren't already aware, Rival Fantasy is the newest evolution in fantasy sports. Rival's all-in-one fantasy platform has changed the fantasy sports landscape. From fantasy bingo, where you mark off boxes of achievements that your players accomplish on the field, to season-long and best ball leagues, to mock drafts and challenges, and more. They have the perfect user-friendly website and app for you. So send a challenge to your friend or send a challenge to your rival and tell them to put their money where their mouth is. But your first deposit of up to $200 will be matched, plus an additional $25 just for using that link, joinrival.com/titletribe. That's joinrival.com/titletribe.
And welcome back. So we got Gerard Mayo as the head coach now in New England. He is replacing probably, I'm going to throw my homer hat on here for a second, and I'm going to say the second greatest coach in NFL history. And that's just me being a complete and total homer we talked about before the show. So I'm good enough of a man to admit it. It's a homer statement, but I'm going to go with it. But he's replacing a legend in Bill Belichick, excuse me. How much pressure is there on him following such a legend as the head coach for the Patriots?
That's a great question, George. And, I really think there is inherent pressure whenever you take over a team, no matter who the previous head coach was.
Yep.
You want to make sure that you're leading them to a better record, or at least a more promising future than the guy who preceded you. So the Patriots right now are looking at this and saying, okay, 4-13 in 2023. Not much more room to go down. It is possible they get worse, but it's probably a situation where Gerard Mayo is hoping that's not the case. You want to get at least one more than you got the previous season. But when you add in the fact that now you're replacing the most successful coach in franchise history, one of the most successful coaches in NFL history, definitely when it comes to postseason, Bill Belichick is head and shoulders above the rest. You look at what he's done all his career, and all of a sudden, it's a very daunting task for any type of a coach in any environment. But Gerard Mayo is doing the right thing. He's pulling upon the things that he learned from Bill Belichick as a coach and even as a player when he played under Bill. And he's also incorporating his own style into the mix when it comes to the New England Patriots. That's why I believe he was the right choice to succeed Bill Belichick, and I believe he will be a successful one. Patriots fans have to remember that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It may take a couple of years before you really see this team start to come together under Gerard Mayo and under his leadership and really in his own vision. In terms of the pressure that's on him this year, I think it'll be reasonable. I think most fans understand that there is going to be a growing pain period where he's going to have to, come into his own. I think you're going to start to see more pressure as the years mount if you don't see the Patriots make significant strides. If this is not a playoff team in 2, 3, 4 years, then all of a sudden that seat is going to get very hot in New England very quickly, because it'll have been a while, and then it'll have also been a while since you let arguably one of the greatest head coaches in football history walk out the door. That's where you're going to start to see that hot seat get a little red hot. But right now, I think Patriots fans will take it in stride. And I will say, I believe Gerard is up to the challenge.
Yep.
Yeah, you especially want to try to be competitive in that really weak division with no other good teams in it, right? But, as a Colts fan, just watching Gerard Mayo, even I've always still kind of admired and loved watching that guy play. So I still hope to see him succeed. It's I don't know. It's just one of those feel good stories. Guy comes back home, gets to coach his team. So, all right. So, the wide receiving position, the tight end position, we'll kind of rope all those together and just call it the targets here for Drake Mayo, Jacoby Brissett, whoever's out there. So historically in the past, it seems like the Patriots have had struggles with drafting good, solid, earlier wide receivers. And they kind of took a lot of shots from the media for their Jalen Polk pick early on. And then they were kind of bolstered up a little bit about the pick later on in the fourth round, as if that guy was better than Polk. So, but there is still some promising people like and George here got me really focused on Demario Douglas. I probably should have let you ask the wide receiver question here, but he's all about some Demario Douglas and his future. So I want to hear what you have to say as somebody that follows the team on a regular basis.
Yeah, Demario, I think, is one of the feel-good stories of this team.
Yep.
He really was last year. One of the very few bright spots that the Patriots had on offense last year was Demario Douglas. And you love seeing this kid play, not just the quick burst, not just the speed that he shows in the open field, but when this kid is played in soft coverage, and a lot of teams make the mistake of playing him in soft coverage because he's more diminutive than some of the normal receivers that you'll see in this league, he'll make you pay for it. He plays with a toughness, a tenacity, and he plays bigger than his size. And you definitely love to see that in this kid. He continues to work on his game. One thing that we had an opportunity to speak with him actually just yesterday in New England to kind of kick off the season here and kind of get everybody back into the building and back into form. Demario's ready to build on that season last year. He's not resting on his laurels, and he's saying that he hasn't really accomplished anything yet. As good of a season as he had last year, one of the best under Bill Belichick's tenure in terms of a rookie year for a wide receiver, he didn't find the end zone last year. No touchdowns for Demario. So he's eager to find the end zone and to find it often this year. But he's going to be a bright spot for this team. I love the fact that they brought back guys like Kendrick Bourne into the mix. Kendrick is not only an emotional leader on the sideline in the locker room, he's also one of their more versatile receivers. He can play on the perimeter. He can cut back and play in the slot if you need to. Those are the types of veterans that you need for guys like a Jalen Polk and a Javon Baker in order to make sure that they're ready to take that next step as well. This is a wide receivers core that's going to have some growing pains again this year, but they're growing something. And that really, I think, is the theme for New England right now. It's not necessarily what they look like this year. It's what this team can look like in 2, 3, 4 years that I think has Patriots fans excited.
So typically, one thing the Patriots have been known for is always having the great defense. And they got a defense, what I'm going to call a defensive-minded head coach, just because I know he played on the defensive side of the ball. I don't really think it's it's probably not fair to label him a defensive-minded coach, just because this is his first head coaching opportunity. So we really don't know what kind of a minded coach he is. But he played a lot on the defense. That's probably, he's more familiar with the defense than the offense. And historically, the Patriots have had one of the better defenses across the NFL. What is there to be excited about on the New England side of the ball besides getting Mr. Gonzalez back from his injury from last year?
Well, that's definitely part one of it. Getting
Yep.
Christian Gonzalez back and someone that's capable of locking down the right side of the perimeter and being a formidable force in that defensive backfield is automatically going to make this defense, which was a very good defense in
Yep.
2023, even better. So that's point one. The second point is the emergence of Christian Barmore in that defensive front seven. He has been phenomenal. Christian is not only someone that has the ability to contribute in the pass rush and get after the quarterback if he needs to, excellent in the run game. And one thing that he does so well that frees up the Patriots pass rushers like a Matthew Judon or a Joshua Uche is he takes the double team from opposing offensive lines so well. When he's taking on 2, maybe sometimes even 3 blockers, that's going to free up guys on the edge. Matthew Judon feasted when Christian Barmore was at his best because he was able to get one-on-one matchups, which with the athleticism and the tenacity with which Matthew plays, it allows him to get after quarterbacks so much easier. So that really, I think, is something the Patriots fans can be really excited about. And again, they're getting back guys like Matthew Judon in this defense to be that formidable pass rusher. Maybe that does help Joshua Uche improve and get back to the guy that we saw in 2022 that had 11.5 sacks. You add someone like a Marcus Jones back into the mix as well, add a little speed into that defensive backfield, Jabril Peppers, Kyle Duggar at the safety position, those guys anchoring that defensive backfield and directing traffic back there. Yeah, the Patriots may have their issues being able to put points on the board, but it's going to be awfully difficult to put high numbers on the board against a defense that really is solid, I believe, at all 3 levels. That's going to be how they'll win games if they do, if they are able to do that this year.
Outstanding. Yeah, so we don't get a whole lot of really good defensive talk, so that's pretty amazing. I love it. I'm also a little bit concerned about the offensive line, although admittedly I'm not as concerned for the Patriots offensive line after this offseason. They were rated, according to Pro Football Talk, as the 30th ranked offensive line from last season. They addressed the offensive line a little bit in free agency. And then their third round pick, they went with Caden Wallace, offensive tackle out of Penn State. Fourth round pick, they went with Layden Robinson, the right guard from Texas A&M. They're obviously really focusing on this offensive line. Are any of these guys going to be able to be a week one difference maker, or are they going to have to develop right along with the rest of the team?
That's a good question. Right now, I think that's their biggest question, at least offensively. Michael Wainu over on the right side, as far as the tackle position, is going to continue to be their anchor. He's going to continue to be their best lineman. And he's being paid accordingly, but he's also giving you that opportunity to seal off that right side of the offensive line. Sidy Sow, the second year, had a good rookie season without any question. Last year was rated very high by Pro Football Focus, showed a great deal of poise, great footwork, really kind of took to the playbook a little earlier than most offensive linemen will in this system, especially as a rookie. So I look for that right side to really, I think, be locked down right now. I think you're going to continue to see Mike align at right tackle, and I think you're going to see Sidy at right guard. The center position, it's really as solid as it goes with David Andrews. As long as David is putting on an NFL uniform, he'll be the guy in the middle, providing he's healthy. That's the most important thing. But he's going to be able to give you whatever you need. There's nothing on a football field David Andrews can't handle. He's seen it all. He's done it all. It's the left side right now that's a little bit of a concern for the Pats. Cole Strange entering his third season now. He's got to be able to step his game up, prove that he can stay healthy, and prove that he is the solid left guard prospect that the Patriots believed they were getting a couple of years ago when they shocked everyone and drafted him in the first round. Cole is the type of guy that has the talent to do it, and he's perfectly suited, once again, for an Alex Van Pelt offense. The pulling guards is where he was so good at Chattanooga. That's essentially what he was brought in to do when he was drafted. The Patriots wanted to incorporate more outside zone and pull the guards. The problem is they just didn't have the coaching staff to be able to pull it off, and they really didn't have the personnel around him to be able to pull it off. When you got Matt Patricia and Joe Judge trying to meddle in the offense, it just didn't work, guys. It was a disaster from start to finish. They've got guys like Scott Peters. They've got guys like Alex Van Pelt that know that type of football, and they'll incorporate that. And the left tackle right now is your wild card. Do you go with Chuck Okorafor, who is a free agent, been around the league, seen a lot, done a lot with the Pittsburgh Steelers? He may be your day one starter, but the Patriots are very high on Caden Wallace. And I get back to Scott Peters on this because shortly before the draft, we had an opportunity to kind of pick his brain a little bit. And he said that a lot of the pro day, players that he was scouting and that he was working with, he wanted to get a good feel for their versatility, guys that could play on either side of the alignment. Mentioned Blake Fisher as somebody he worked very closely with, who ended up being drafted before the Patriots were on the clock. Someone who started off as the left tackle in Notre Dame and then got unseated because Joe Alt is an otherworldly talent at that position. Caden Wallace almost had the same type of problem at Penn State with Oli Fashanu. He probably would have been their left tackle had it not been for Oluka being a great talent there as well. So if they feel he has the versatility, the footwork, and the athleticism to play on the left side, don't be a bit surprised before the end of the season to see Caden Wallace as your starting left tackle. I think he can do it.
All right, Mike.
And for what it's worth, Okorafor his contract is only $4 million base and just over $8 million max. So they definitely have some playability there, some wiggle room. It's not like that's a big deal to go sign that amount of money and then just go put them on the bench if they have to make a switch. So I like that. But George, I think we're ready for your last question, your big final question.
All right, Mike. Now we're getting into the hard questions. Okay, this one is a super difficult question. I ask every single guest. They actually like this question, so I always bring it back. If you could take any player in the NFL outside of quarterback, because let's face it, besides like 5 teams maybe in the NFL, everybody's taking the quarterback. But you can take any player in the entire NFL, take them from their team they're on, and magically put them in New England. Don't care about the cap space. Don't care about draft capital. Does not matter. You can take any player you want and just add them to the Patriots. Who do you take and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. Patriots Nation is going to want me to say a wide receiver. I know there's no question about it. I'll tell you, it's very, very difficult to not say receiver right now, especially with everything that the Patriots have. But look, left tackle is a situation where I think New England right now could really use a solid guy that's protecting the blind side, someone that is experienced in that area. I did just mention Caden Wallace. I probably should have mentioned he hasn't played left tackle in quite some time, dabbled a little during the preseason workouts, but other than that, he spent all his time on the right side with Penn State. So that would definitely be a position that would catch my eye. But if there is a guy out there that I could just take out of obscurity, and I'm going to get into a lot of trouble with the fan base of the organization that I just said is obscurity. I have absolutely loved Justin Jefferson since I first saw him step on a football field as a collegiate wide receiver. I would love to see him in New England with someone like Drake Maye coming into his prime, being able to utilize that type of talent at the receiver position. If I could take any one guy and put him on the Patriots right now, I would probably have to say Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings.
And the follow-up to that is the reason why we typically ask that question, because it gives us an insight on what position on the team the guest thinks is probably one of the most weakest positions on that specific team. And so you talked about left tackle, and that's where I thought you would actually go. Is I thought you would go with the offensive line. Listen, nothing wrong with taking Justin Jefferson, right? Like, you can't go wrong adding the number one, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the NFL to your team. You cannot go wrong with that. But yeah, I definitely thought you would go tackle on that question. So bravo for going with the wide receiver.
Well, I will say this. The reason why I went there is because I did go with veteran savvy. If I really was probably thinking about it the way you were thinking about it, I would say, even though he hasn't played an NFL game yet, I would say I'll take Joe Alt from Jim Harbaugh over in Los Angeles, put him over there on the opposite side. All of a sudden, you got Drake Maye and Joe Alt in the same lineup. That's a hell of a rookie class. But no, all kidding aside, I think you're absolutely right. I think left tackle is a big need for this team. If the Patriots find themselves picking in the top 10 area again, and I know Colts fans and Dolphins fans will be really upset if that's the case, have them look at the tackle position. I think that's where they'll be going immediately.
Well, I mean, the Patriots had their shot. The
Patriots made the right decision, though. If you're rebuilding the franchise, and
you're
in the top 3 pick. Listen, when I did my mock draft, I went through, picked all 32 teams for the NFL who I thought they'd take. I'm going to self-brag a little bit. I had the first 7 100% spot on. Number 8, listen, Atlanta, I hate you guys. they screwed up everybody's mock draft with that selection. Nobody had Atlanta take a quarterback. I want, if you did, I want to see the receipt. I need to see where you said before the draft, I think the Falcons are going to take Michael Penix at 8. Listen, no, they were not. But I'm glad that Drake Maye actually did go to New England. That's where I had him mocked. And I think long term, I think he's going to have a better career than Jaden Daniels did going to Washington. So I do like the prospect for Drake Maye in New England. It was a good, solid pick. And if you're rebuilding the franchise, listen, I don't think the Patriots are going to be picking in a position next year, especially with all the players they're getting back on their defense, to where they're going to be in position to take a franchise-level quarterback, unless they do pull a Falcons or a Broncos. But that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you're picking at number 3. This is the biggest or the most prime piece of draft capital the Patriots have had since Drew Bledsoe was chosen number 1 in 1993. You're never guaranteed this type of draft capital again. When quarterback's one of your biggest needs, you have to go that level. Again, Alt is someone that I believe could be a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, and maybe even a Hall of Famer someday with that type of talent and just what he brings to the table. But Again, I think the Patriots got their right guy in Drake Maye. He fits everything they've needed, and I think he'll be the guy in New England for the foreseeable future.
For what it's worth. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Justin. Do you think the Patriots should have traded back at any point? Like, was there a time where you thought, okay, we were getting, like, there was reports like they were getting offers to move back and getting future first in return to move back. Do you think that was something that they probably should have entertained, or is it no? You need the quarterback. You're in the top three. You're not going to be in this position probably for a while. So let's stay pat.
Well, based on the reports of the packages that were offered to them, I think they made the right decision. I don't think any of those were commensurate to getting the type of player that they got. Now, look, if there was a team out there that was willing to go a little bit above what they were what some of these offers were listed at, yeah, I mean, you have to consider that. If someone's going to go 4 first-rounders, you'd really be very hard-pressed to turn that down. I don't care who you are. That's almost insane to turn that down. But for what was asked in return for the Patriots and what was being offered, no, I think they made the right decision in staying where they were. And again, they were actually looking to potentially maybe even move back up, or I know they had their eye on South Carolina's Xavier Legette. I know they really liked him an awful lot. He ended up going to Carolina. New England right now with Polk and with Javon Baker, I think have the opportunity to take 2 players now and make 2 separate but maybe even equal weapons for Drake Maye. So things may have worked out for the best for New England in the long run, but at that number 3 position, I definitely think they made the right move.
Excellent. Very good. Well, I don't know about you, George, but I think it's time to call this a show. But I got to say, Mike, you have one of the most amazing voices for radio, so you're in the right line of work for sure. And now that I know that Locked On podcasts are also on YouTube, I don't know why I never thought to check it, but I know what I'm going to be doing with most of my Saturday tomorrow. But other than replacing the refrigerator that's going to be here tomorrow. But Mike, we greatly appreciate your time. As always, George, thanks for your help with all the booking. You killed it again. This is another one out of the ballpark. But we're going to sign out. It's Locked On Patriots podcast, YouTube, Apple. Are you on Spotify?
We are on Spotify.
Justin, I'm going to jump in real quick. Hey, Mike, why don't you tell everybody where they can follow your work? Because I think it'll be a lot easier for you to do that than for Justin to try to do that.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely. And gentlemen, thank you for the invite. This one's been a long time coming to get me on. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for always being willing to have me on, lend my wisdom and counsel. Yeah, you can check me out Monday through Friday on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are available on YouTube. We're also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are available. And if you want to check out my written work, I am the lead beat reporter for Patriots Country, and you can check us out over at Athlon Sports and all the great work that our writers do. I will be in Foxborough this year and bringing you boots on the ground coverage, and I'm once again humbled and honored to do so for both great companies such as Athlon and Locked On.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. We appreciate you very much. Thanks a lot. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Are you ready to take over your fantasy leagues and become a champion? Get the edge you need and join the Toilets to Titles Patreon today to get exclusive access to our T2T staff, weekly waiver wire shows, and Patreon exclusive leagues like our signature Frankenstank League. Members enjoy other amazing benefits such as monthly giveaways featuring autographed jerseys, collectibles, Yeti coolers, and more. Sign up now for as little as $9.99 per month and dominate your fantasy leagues like never before. Visit patreon.com/toilets to titles and let us help take your teams to the championship.